Welcome everyone to this awesome lessons learned with our friend KORVIN, who is a PMP boss. We also have one of our students, Uche, who's coming for the ride with us, and we have other students who are here with us on the call. So it's a pleasure to be here with our friend KORVIN and Jan and Shona and everyone else who may be coming through, because he's now a PMP guru. Woo! Yes, he did it. He conquered this one and this one and this one and this one helped him. This helped. Tell me, KORVIN, this helped. This helped you, right?
Yes, it did. It sure did.
Oh dear. How do you feel now that you're a PMP guru?
I feel extremely light right now.
Light.
Right.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited for you, KORVIN. So tell us, on the day you got into that exam and you turned on, well, they had already turned on the computer, but you saw the first question. Did you feel like, yeah, today's my day, this is a piece of cake? How did you feel?
Yes, I did. I had that mindset before I woke up that morning, and I spent days, weeks just being in that type of mindset. Like this is I'm going to defeat it.
Defeat is the right word, man. That's the mindset. Yeah, you got to defeat that beast, that crazy 10-headed beast with 10 knowledge area horns sticking out. That's it. So KORVIN, tell us, because a lot of folks, they would like to know why you wanted to do this. I always ask people, why PMP? What made you go through this torture? Because it takes so much effort to stay on the material, to just keep studying it and studying it and studying it. And you were extremely diligent, always showing up for our meetings, always studying this stuff. What made you do this?
I've been wanting to do it because I'm in management. I'm a project manager right now. And but my journey with this started before I became a project manager. And it might have started back in 2014. And I saw and I heard about PMP, and I just wanted to make sure that I understood things and best practices, and that I could really compete with some of the better people out there too.
Oh my gosh. Well, now who's better? It's you. My goodness, 2014. And you
Right.
kept on renewing the vision, kept on saying, I want to get certified. I want to get certified.
Right. I did.
Wow. And there was someone in your firm, I think, that told you about your buddy Phil. You jumped on the wagon after someone in your firm, right? Who was that person?
Right. Actually, it started with one of my friends in the Washington, D.C. area. She first mentioned you, and then but that very same week, a member in my organization mentioned you.
Ah.
And then another member like a day later mentioned you.
Wow.
Right. And then I had another person. So within a week's time period, I had 4 people mention your name.
Oh my gosh. Well, it was pointing you in the right direction, KORVIN.
Yes.
And then you joined, and then we had a discussion, and then the fun and games started, and you were showing up daily for the daily scrums. You were studying hard, you were putting in hours, and I know you were putting a lot of good time. I know that you were studying, but let's talk about this exam, because I just showed our friends on the call the people, process, business. I took them through some agile and predictive. So if you were going to give some guidance on the percentage titrations of these 3, of agile, hybrid, and predictive, what would you say the split was? Just guessing on your exam, just rough.
Okay, I would say that agile would have been at 50%, maybe a little bit over it, over 50, and the Agile was about 30%, just straight agile. And then the predictive would have been maybe about 20%.
Okay,
the
got you. So let's say 50% for just the core agile, straight ahead agile.
No, for hybrid.
Oh, hybrid.
Yes,
Wow. 50% for hybrid.
that correct.
Wow. Okay. And then
30% for the agile.
interesting. Okay. And then the other 20 for this one.
That is correct.
Wow. So that means there's no escaping knowing both really well. They've done it such that it's been so mixed that you got a boatload of hybrid. Now let's talk about what makes hybrid hybrid. What makes it hybrid is that the question has some agile component and some predictive component, right?
Right.
So it could be you're a project manager on a project, you are planning with your team using an agile approach, and then you're having a predictive rollout, blah, blah, blah. And they give you a problem and say, what should you do next? What should happen next?
Right.
Like that. Gotcha.
That's
Gotcha.
correct.
Now, Colvin, when we take a look at this people, process, and business, let me show you what PMI say. PMI say this is 42% when you boil it down. They say that process is 50%, and they say that business is 8%. Would you like to tweak these numbers a little bit, bend it more towards
Not at
your
all.
reality? Oh,
No.
really? It was like this?
Right.
Wow. Okay. That's good to know. So our friends on the call, do you have any questions based on this first revelation that our friend Corvin has shown us, this first discovery? Because every student has a different experience, I must tell you. And just looking at these numbers here is eye-opening, you know? Questions or concerns? Not yet. Okay. So Corvin, let's talk about the first 60 questions that you did on the exam. The exam starts and you got 60 questions. Were you on point as far as the time is concerned to like hit it in a minute per question?
No, I was not. And my approach on this, I try to give myself for the 60 questions, 72 minutes to answer the questions. So that's roughly about 1 minute, 20 seconds for each question. But I fell behind somewhat in the first 60 questions.
And did you pick yourself up? Because you know the estimates that we had is that first 60 questions, you need to be at 75 worst case.
Mhm.
So you were around what, like 100 minutes or what?
I was around I would say probably likely when I finished the first 60, I might have, well, at question 60, I think I was at, I had, should have thought about this before. Yeah.
No, you're fine because it does take some thinking because you're either thinking in minutes or you're thinking in seconds and it gets very murky. But if you were beyond the time that you were thinking, it's definitely more than 72,
Yes.
the higher spectrum.
Right.
Gotcha. And then you went for a break, right? At this point.
That is correct.
Came back from the break and then you had to start the next ascent to 120. So when you got to 120, were you at 150? Do you remember?
No, by the time I made it, no, by the time I made it to question 120, I had 29 minutes left on the exam.
What?
Right. So so starting off on the very next section,
Oh my
that's
gosh. So Corvin, you had blown through 50 minutes somehow. So let's just say there was 25 minutes more than what you should have spent on the first round on average and another 25 minutes. Wow. So when you started this, You only had 30 minutes left.
That is correct.
Oh my gosh. So think about it, folks. When he started, he was at 200 minutes and the exam is 230. So tell us, KORVIN, how were you able to go through 60 questions in 30 minutes?
Right.
What?
Right. I reached a number. I said, okay, I have 60 questions, only 30 minutes. And I said, okay, I need to spend no more than 30 seconds on each question. Never done that before, but there have been in some of my practice testing, which I was able to answer some questions in maybe 20 seconds, 30, 40, 45 seconds. And I did pretty well in moving through a good deal of the questions down up until the point to when I reached and I had maybe about 8 to 5 minutes left on the exam. And because when you only have 5 minutes left on the exam, a clock pops up and says, okay, a notification pops up letting you know that you only have 5 minutes. And at that point is when I said, okay, I don't have enough time to read through the entire question. And so I had to just look at the end point of the question, because they all typically would end in like what should the project manager do next, or what should the project manager do, or what should the project manager have done. And then with the answer choices, I just looked at the answer choices and I did process of elimination coming from an agile mindset, like things that sound ridiculous, such as such and such should never happen. You can immediately eliminate those type of questions. Or if it's just something of reprimanding someone in certain sense. So it made it easy. So then I was down to 2 and I just went with the more agile selection. And I did that for the last 20 questions.
So you answered about 20 questions in like maybe what, 5-10 minutes?
Within a 5-minute time period.
Wow. That is insane. But we prepared you well for it, KORVIN. We went over mindset and you came in when I was teaching our friends here mindset. So I'm really excited that you were able to go in there and kill that beast. So did you hesitate to hit end, or did it just end the exam for you? You didn't even have a second.
By the time I made it to question 180, there was 3 seconds left. and then I went ahead and hit a button, because if you don't hit it, it's not going to count it. Once that time runs out, it's out. So I hit one. Then when I looked at the selection, I said, okay, yeah, that's what I'm going for. Then time ran out and it says time's up. And that was it.
Wow. Talk about a crazy story. I thought I'd heard all the crazy stories. This one is crazy. Jen has a question for us.
So I'm just curious, in you're a project manager, and what methodology do you guys use of your place of work? So was it easy to kind of know some of the answers or know some of this stuff because you're hands-on with it? Or are you accustomed to using one specific methodology over another?
Okay. In my profession, we use the predictive approach, but and I am familiar with with various stages of the predictive, but really in the exam, the predictive was more challenging to me. The agile, I was able to blend in, gain how agile worked, and I really prefer agile over the predictive approach. But to answer your question, it does the predictive. Since I do that, and that's the type of life cycle that we use. Certain parts of it is easier. But just with the way that agile is broken down, I understand the flow of agile better, and it is easier to know what comes. What goes into what. And as Phil goes on with this 3-5-3, just that process and how he lays out everything, I take more to the Agile type of life cycle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good deal.
Corbin, so, with Phil and his training, Phil's on it, he's always on it. What do you feel like you kind of leaned into as far as getting yourself prepared? Because, I'm going to trainings, and also, I know we did some night sessions, the
Right.
daily sessions. And so what do you feel like kind of helped you prepare? Or was it just everything?
No, well, you have to start somewhere. And when I came into Phil, I didn't know much about Agile at all. And so I was extremely nervous about this whole Agile thing, because I was just nervous about it. And so diving in with Phil and looking at some of these sessions, like one like today, and what y'all are doing in the masterclass, I just spent some time looking at those whole videos, and each one of his sessions are somewhat different, but with some of the examples that he put up in the displays, and listening to him and Roy. And it was when I did my immersion course and looking at other immersion courses, that really helped me understand the whole Agile process and breakdown. So once I started there, then I started to feel really confident with the Agile. And he gives out many of the, if you come to the daily Scrum sessions, yes, we do the 15 minutes to talk about the three questions, and then after that, breaking into, for the ones who choose to stay after, and with the team, each group of team members are different, so they bring different dynamics to it. But with the questions and the quizzes that we had in those, and sometimes we'll just have quizzes that were just for 5 minutes, but they're just all Agile questions. And just with the number of the various quizzes that he has that focuses in on whether it's predictive or Agile or hybrid, those really paid off in the consistency of it. And then having a supportive group, the team members, when we go through the questions together and we review things and we explain and all that, because you never know what's going to click. Each team member is explaining something somewhat different, but we're still talking about the same thing. So that really helped. I had the more challenging thing with the predictive, and the predictive was supposed to be the thing that I was like, yeah, I have this predictive stuff down. And it turned out to be the one that I was weakest in. And because I've spent so much time studying predictive, I got it down. Then when I went to focus on Agile, I focused on that, and then the knowledge that I had gained on the predictive side, it grew weak. And so I made sure, after I gained a good understanding of the Agile, that I didn't make the same mistake that I did previously. So I made sure to always, every day, review Agile. I'm studying predictive, but I'm making sure that I don't lose no more knowledge on the Agile things that I gained. So I would draw out the little diagram. I would go to the look at Phil's materials on it, refresh my mind, look at the clips here and there, and also the materials that he referenced, use those. If you go to the immersion book, in the back of it, he has like these cheat sheets back there, and it has the diagrams in there and the flow of how everything works with the Agile, and then his handouts with the Agile mindset, Agile basics for PMP students. He has tons of materials, and so I really linked on that, and so I was able to hold on to my Agile, the information that I was gaining on the Agile side while strengthening my predictive side.
I have another question.
Uh-huh.
So what would you say was the length of time you took to take the courses, do the Scrum, the nightly Scrums, before you felt confident enough to apply to take the exam?
Well, it was the thing that brought confidence was seeing your results on the quizzes, the
Mm.
materials that he gave. And then because some of them I didn't do so well on it, but it's just going back and reviewing the ones that I got wrong to close those gaps. Because I had a number of gaps and I didn't really, in me, people tell me, that I'm afraid that I always try to strive for perfection, and it creates a huge limitation on me because I don't like failing. But I had to realize that I need to step out here. I need to take these quizzes. I need to see whatever results that I get and just have a proactive mindset, optimistic mindset, and just reviewing the weak areas. And not only do I review the ones that I got wrong, but because you never know, you could take a test and you could get one right, but you don't really understand why you got it right. And so I would go back and review not only the ones I got wrong, but the ones that I had right too as well. And then that built up a certain level of confidence. And because also with me starting, I had a speed problem, my timing. It wasn't that I didn't understand the material, it's just I couldn't get through it quick enough. But I needed a better understanding. The more that I frequent these practice quizzes, and my confidence increased as well with it.
And so, if we had to put a time on it, was it a couple of months, a couple of weeks? Did you do this for a year? I just want to know,
Okay. Well, I
I
started
know
back,
everybody's different too, but
I started with Phil back in August. And I would say everything before that didn't matter. I was all over the place. I was scrambling. I didn't know exactly what to study. I didn't know how to properly gauge things. And with Phil, it brought structure. And also it forced me to focus on what my gap areas were, what those areas that I was lacking in. And the team members in each of the sessions, I've seen a number of them come through and they moved on and they're PMP bosses now, but all of them helped. So starting in August, each it's just everything kept building on each other, and just the consistency of coming and being active with the group sessions, and also the time. And if I did have any questions, just putting that out there to Phil, and he would respond to those things. And the next thing you know, that gap has been closed. But I felt that I was ready back in, and because I took the exam back in November, and I fell short. My ratings were pretty good because I scored above target in some of the areas where I was very strong in the process area, but I ran out of time on the last 60, and that really hurt me. Maybe if I had additional time, I could have passed it then, but I felt somewhat confident back in November when I took the exam. And now when I was able to take the exam, I felt really good about this. I didn't stay up just doing tests. Phil would always say, make sure you get your rest, don't stay up all night. And I followed the instructions that he provided, that team members and the lessons learned would give to as well. I want to be clear on it. Yeah.
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Really
I'm trying to
helped.
gauge like how much time I need.
How much time on what?
How much time I'm gonna need, or how much I should prepare to spend. But again, everybody's different. Everybody has different, ways of remembering things and absorbing things.
Mhm.
So, what works for you may not work for me. And so, but I just thought I'd ask just to see, how
I'll give
long
you a
it
range.
took you.
Yeah, I'll give you a range. So it varies. It varies for everyone. So KORVIN, if you wanted to give a total amount of time that you spent, could you even begin to what's your just wild guess of how much time in total you spent? How many hours in total you spent studying? Wild guess.
How many? Well, let's just, I had a thing where I would wake up in the morning and I wake up at 4 in the morning. I make it to my office about 5:30 in the morning, study up until about 8 o'clock. And I was pretty consistent with that. And some things were locked down. But the disadvantage of that, I think I spent a little bit too much time studying. I should have spent more time actually taking the practice exams, because you can know the materials, but just getting yourself in that mindset of whatever question that they throw at you, that you can read through it and understand, where you're just so used to seeing questions. A lot of these questions become repeat things. And with all the examples and the various things that Phil has out there in this material, if I could go back and do that, I would spend more time. I would have, after you, because you know what you know. Once you study the material, you have it. Now it's time to put it to use. And I wish I could have spent more time just taking more full out practice questions.
That's helpful perspective. Thank you. Come on, ask more questions. That's why he's here. Or concerns.
I think for me, and I'm sorry, I'm like monopolizing.
You're good. Come on.
I think that what you just said there, because I can run into a habit of studying, but then going into a rabbit hole, right? Like just, I tend to do that with a lot of things when I'm like trying to prepare for an interview. I'm looking at, let me just practice this question. And then the next thing I know, I'm all over the place. And so hearing you say to spend more time doing the practice test would have been maybe a little bit something you would have preferred or should have done, kind of helps me in the sense that maybe if I feel that once I feel like I know this stuff enough, to spend more time on the questions. And like you said, maybe the questions can be, repeated, maybe in a different form slightly, but getting a sense of how to read those questions and where those like keywords might be to help you then get down to do the process of elimination stuff. So that's really helpful.
Right. Oh, good. And also understanding how things are broken out. For instance, like you may hear about these theories. They have various theories. What knowledge area are those theories in? If we're talking about the Maslow theory, what group is that in? Is that in resource management? Is it in quality management? Just or if we're talking about conflict, is that in resource management? So understanding how these things that you're studying, where do they fall at? And when I started to make sense of those things, it helped me understand it a little bit more, so I can see what type of question that I'm getting. Some of them aren't as obvious as if you're dealing with contracts. Okay, yeah, that's dealing with procurement. So, or if it's dealing with closeout, okay, well, procurement has some aspect of closeout, but also integration is over in closeout as well. So that's the end stage. And so just the more that you see these things, just start thinking about just the relationship of it. Because obviously we know anything dealing with schedule variance, or what that's in schedule, anything that's talking about impact of risk, that's in risk. Some of them are straightforward, but just knowing where to look. So if I had any questions about any of those theories, I knew exactly what chapters to turn to. If I wanted to know more about, if I'm taking these quizzes that I'm seeing that I have a lot of questions dealing with conflict. then I need to really turn to resource management and go through there just to brush up on that material, so I can know what areas that I need to be stronger in. And that helped me, and that was my approach to it. And it's good to know, because you may have these people, you hear all these opinions about what was on this person's exam or what wasn't. I made sure to just study the material to understand it, even though a lot of the stuff that I studied was not on that exam. And then when it came to the predictive part, I struggled so much just trying to work and understand page 25 of it, the knowledge mapping, these knowledge areas. And so a spreadsheet had to be created on there with just the appropriate rows. I mean, in the columns going over from the initiation and planning and execution and monitoring, controlling, and close. And then the appropriate rows, laying out the knowledge areas, the 10 knowledge areas. And I just had to fill in the blank from those, just start filling out because it takes me so long to write out something. But if you have an Excel sheet with something locked in, and you can just fill it in, go back, review it, exit out, or create another tab, and each day I continue to get better and better and better. Then after I grasped that, I went to trying to learn just the outputs of things. I didn't really focus too much on the ITTOs. I mean, on the tools and techniques, but making sure that I understood the outputs, and then I wanted to understand a little bit of the input, and also understanding the knowledge areas which tie to each other, like quality ties into the whole scope with that, because with the whole QC part and then over in scope on the execution part is when the deliverables are accepted in a validate scope. And so the more I just looked at it, I could tie things to it, and it made it make sense to me.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate this.
Thanks, Corbin. That makes sense.
Good stuff, Corvin. I'm so excited, and I'm going to be pinging you in the future to come and help out, because it takes an army to help people the right way. Just like you said, the right ways is to have a gathering of people with a like mind and towards a common goal. And there's nothing that you cannot do. But let's talk about that page 25, Corvin, because I really bothered everyone. You got to know this, you got to know where things are. So when you got into the exam and you began to see questions of a predictive nature or of a hybrid nature, did that help you knowing that grid and where the things were? How much did that help?
Yes, it did. It did. So when they're asking something, for instance, like what I mentioned about closeout, it's good to know if something's focusing on closeout, where are we at? And it does help. Or if it helps, it makes it easier for you to do process of elimination when they're talking about something that's dealing with integration or the project charter. They're working on a project charter. So if they're working on a project charter, you're in integration, planning hasn't started just yet. And so I can do a process elimination, get rid of those items in there which are in the other phases. It makes it very, very easy when you understand, or if they're talking about something, a certain plans are in the process of being completed, and but then they have some answer choices which are in execution, or that's in close, or monitoring, controlling. So that, it makes it very easy.
That's so helpful, Corvin. Well, I want to say a massive thank you to you for coming through today. I know our friends in the community of Praizion will want to listen to your lessons learned. So really excited. Well done. Congrats. It's just the beginning of greater things coming. You and I know that. So well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corvin.
Thank you
Thank
all,
you,
and I wish you all the
Corbin.
best in
Thank
this
you.
approach.
Congratulations
It
again.
will happen as long as you put in the time. You will get there. You'll get there.
Thank
Okay, thank you.